Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new season of Urban U. Along with a fantastic new list of CUNY stories for you, we also have a fantastic new co-host. Introducing our own reporter, producer, and now co-host, Abi Ishola.
Thank you so much, Ari. It's an honor to be hosting Urban U. And FYI, Tina Beth Pina hasn't left us. She's hosting a new show on CUNY-TV called Latinas, so make sure you watch.
But for now, here's what's happening in our first show of the season. CUNY is making its LGBT community feel right at home. Abby, what else we got?
Well, new Chancellor Felix V. Matos Rodriguez visited CUNY students who are still helping to rebuild homes in Puerto Rico. Those stories and more. Many universities have leadership training initiatives, but finding one specifically for LGBTQI+ students is quite rare, unless you attend a CUNY school. I spoke to members of CUNY's LGBTQI+ student leadership program about how it's become a great training ground and a safe haven.
I don't have any contact with my biological family, because that's just what they are to me, just biological. I guess the shorthand would be that they disowned me when I came to the realization that I'm a transgender man and that's how I'm going to live my life. I have my chosen family.
This is part of Ash Tabar's chosen family. They are fellow members of CUNY's LGBTQI+ leadership program, a CUNY-wide student group he joined before he graduated from Bronx Community College. Within the collective, the former liberal arts student found friendship and the kind of support he lost at home.
There's not a day where I'm not running over here because I want to be in this space.
The group meets once a month to check in, sharing their challenges, triumphs, and everyday experiences.
So again, as I always say, this is the best part of my week when we do meet.
David Rivera, an associate professor at Queens College and the program's founding director, heads each meeting.
I'm sensing a lot of love in the room. Is it always like this?
Oh, you haven't even seen the half of it yet. Once everybody gets here, I think their main reason for coming is to see each other. Actually, they don't really probably care as much about me, but no, but they really do have this really tight-knit family, this cohesion. As you see, we have lunch, and I think that helps to also foster those really meaningful connections with each other.
Along with providing a space for free-flowing connection, the program is built on 4 pillars: identity development, social-emotional learning, career readiness, and social justice advocacy.
We spend some time focusing on how to advocate for oneself, but also transitioning that into how to advocate for others. And so really focusing some time on civic and political engagement, using those as mechanisms of change.
Participants recently took a trip to Washington, D.C. to meet with political leaders to talk about issues pertinent to CUNY students and LGBTQI+ people in general.
In the world, I identify and present as a brown man. And that's a lot of struggles within itself as far as racism and the social structures of our society. So being a part of this program made me realize that I have a lot of confidence hidden within myself, and I'm very capable of being a leader for my community.
I've met people who identify the same way that I've identified. They can understand the specific struggles that I go through. Like, I'll talk about, to people saying my pronouns are they, them, theirs, and they'll be like, what? And I'm just like, it's the same way you would use she, he, just substituted for they, them, theirs. I grew up in the Bronx, and my family isn't not welcoming, but they're not really understanding of where I'm coming from necessarily, especially as a gender non-conforming person. So getting introduced into this program was very I needed this. It was a breather. It was just something very impactful for my life. It kind of, I guess in some ways, saved me to a degree, so yes.
Rivera was partly inspired by his own college experience to start the program. During his time at the University of Wyoming, Matthew Shepard, a fellow classmate, made headlines after he was brutally beaten and left for dead.
As I was coming out, Matthew Shepard was killed. I was a very visible leader on campus. I was part of student government. I was president of the United Multicultural Council. But at that time, I knew that if I were to continue my coming out, that I would have come out very publicly. And I knew that telling my family personally was really important. And so I kind of went back into the closet. So that was a very formative experience for me.
Now with his work, CUNY students are able to harness their own experiences towards becoming great leaders.
I've been able to build better relationships just because I've actually experienced a lot in terms of what my identity is. I've explored my identity. I've explored what it is to be Latino and be gay and be comfortable in my own space and be comfortable with myself, where I can bring that to other folks and help them if they would need it as well.
Abi Ishola for Urban U.
Maybe you are one of the millions of people who watches TED Talks on YouTube. But did you know that CUNY also hosts these programs under the name TEDx right here on our campuses?
We're here at the 5th annual TEDx CUNY conference at John Jay College. TEDx events are part of TED Talks' efforts to expand into local communities, bringing people together to share a TED-like experience.
Well, I'd say for one that it's student-run, completely student-run. It's a really important part of what TEDx CUNY is. It gives students a space to organize. It gives students a space to engage with faculty in a way that they can't in other ways.
I thought it was a great opportunity to reach a larger audience, a larger CUNY audience, and a larger audience in the public on these topics that I've worked on for decades.
Another special element of the TEDx CUNY Talks is the price, free. The day of idea sharing featured 11 speakers from CUNY and other experts, all selected by the student team. The conference theme was What Matters Now?
Serving in the Peace Corps in Rwanda taught me so many things and so many valuable lessons about what it is to step out on fear.
I'm very excited to share my story. I'm going to be talking about New York City public schools and sexual health education.
Out of every 100 teenage girls, 7 will become pregnant.
The New York City Poet Laureate from CUNY's York College shared the need to express your voice no matter where you come from.
And I would use my voice, no matter the accent, no matter the pronunciation, no matter my background. I've learned that you can't stand for something if your knees are bent, and if you don't play with the strings of your vocal cords.
These two students were inspired from the start.
The beginning of the opening remarks, the speaker said that you should do 3 things, and one of those things was to make a friend. So I made a friend today, a really good friend. I feel like I've known her for forever already. Going up on stage and actually being involved was pretty awesome, I have to say, because I was planning on just sitting in my seat the whole time.
With over 500,000 students at CUNY, TEDx CUNY is the largest TEDx University event in the country. You can watch these talks on YouTube.
Our talks live online on the TEDx channel. The TEDx channel is followed by millions of subscribers. Both people who are just attuned to the TEDx global community, but also to the TED community.
That the students have the energy and the resource and skills to make something this powerful and interesting just by the students themselves and their hard work. So that's really impressive on its own.
The students did an amazing job, so go CUNY. Go CUNY.
I'm Donna Hanover for Urban U.
This month marks the anniversary of 9/11. And we'd like to recommend a book to you written by our own John Jay College professor, Susan Apatow. The book is called New York After 9/11, and it uses microhistories to explore the lasting impact of those explosions on that day, from toxic chemical buildup to building codes to Islamophobia. It's really a deep dive into this tragic day. I highly recommend it.
2 years ago, Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico, an island close to the hearts of many CUNY students. Last summer, they went to join with the cleanup. This summer, they returned. Tina Beth Pena has that story.
I just want to be able to get back to the island that birthed my mother.
The island has a heartbeat, and I feel it.
This past summer, CUNY returned to Puerto Rico, accompanied by Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, as part of the CUNY Service Corps' partnership with Governor Cuomo's New York Stands with Puerto Rico Recovery and Rebuilding Initiative, which sends CUNY student volunteers to the island in an effort to rebuild homes destroyed by Hurricane Maria.
It's been so great to be able to spend time with the students who are here, doing some work up in the rainforest in El Yunque, and now here in Loíza helping a family fix their house. And I'm so proud of the work that they've done. People sometimes forget that there's work still that needs to be done, very basic work to be done in Puerto Rico.
Kind of fixing up the roof in the ways that it's been not done well before. So what you see on the roof is you'll have like pooling of the water, so we have to chip away at the old sealant, put in new concrete and layers of concrete so that it can kind of like slide off the roof and not pool up there and kind of create, a mess inside the house. We're leveling, we're mixing concrete, we're, getting down dirty with all the power tools and stuff.
CUNY student volunteers also had the opportunity for cultural exchange and connecting with one another.
When I came here, I was a very shy person. I did not talk to anyone, and now we're like such a tight group. It's amazing how like 1 week can change you as a person and can develop like communication skill, your public skills, your building skills.
You look awesome in that ladder with that cement. This is like, this is, you were in the zone.
Last year, student volunteers logged nearly 41,000 hours of sweat equity and restored over 170 homes alongside skilled laborers.
We just fixed their roof. It's really, and you get to their little kids, it's really emotional because they're so happy for us to be here, but you could see the sadness in their face from what happened to their home over here. It's very sad, but it feels good when we get to help them out.
And just put yourself in their shoes. You lose everything, or you can't provide a safe home. It's just devastating.
As someone who was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so very emotional for me to see the students making a difference. Also very thankful in a very humble way to see these students give back to my country.
Just like last summer, this year's service not only restored homes, but it also helped to rebuild the Puerto Rican people.
Los admiro, me paso mirándolos en el álbum que tengo aquí. Y le digo que si no hubiera sido por ellos, yo creo que ya yo no había estado aquí. Tremendo. Yo les brindé mi confianza y ellos me brindaron su confianza. Cuando ellos se fueron, todos los lloré. Los lloré a todos, a todos.
We are CUNY Service Corps family.
For Urban U, I'm Tina Beth Pena.
Rape. Now that's a subject that isn't easy to talk about, but at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in Midtown Manhattan, 2 professors have been working to break the stigma. They've been running a course for the past 6 years called Seeing Rape. Marieve Ami has the story.
I never really thought of how rape would impact people like in a societal scale. I was very surprised that John Jay provides such a hard class because it's hard to talk about these topics. It's pretty hard, especially for me. I'm very shy, but now I feel more comfortable talking about rape.
In this unique interdisciplinary class, students learn about rape in academic ways during the first part of the semester and keep a journal. They will then write and stage fictional stories performed by professional actors.
We wanted them to know that as students of criminal justice, it's really important. This is a really important issue that has an impact on all of our lives. And it doesn't seem like people are able to talk about it or deal with it in thoughtful and academic ways.
I've always been interested in sexual violence. I was sexually assaulted as a young person. So my own plays often have to deal with sexual violence in some way. When I met Shauna, I knew she had done some work studying sexual violence in the Latino community.
We read social science, anthropology, psychology, critical legal jurisprudence. We read a lot of plays. We read fiction, memoir, poetry. We also listen to a lot of journalistic accounts. And then we also talk about statutory rape with boys and girls. We talk about rape in the military. I mean, men's chances of being raped, I don't remember the figure right now, but they increased dramatically when they joined the military.
First reading we had was A Streetcar Named Desire, and that was a book in the 50s, and you see the toxic masculinity in that generation, and not how much has changed from today. I see guys talk about girls, and sometimes they don't get checked.
Yeah, she cute?
She cute.
Damn, man, well, share the goal. Where's she at? After you hit, I'ma hit next.
Nah, chill, man. Chill. Let me shoot my shot real quick. You know what I'm saying? Let me hit it with the Stevie special.
A student might create a play that's not their experience. That's maybe the experience of somebody who's committed rape. But they're trying to access, well, what's going on in this person's brain, what's happening in the community. And I think that it just allows for a freedom that maybe, writing an academic paper doesn't necessarily allow for.
The play that I wrote was Pineapple Juice, pretty much about a fantasy turned a little bit different about consent.
Please, don't hurt me!
Shut up and take off your clothes.
Oh my God! What are you doing to me?
Stop asking so many questions, bitch!
Matthew!
Sorry. I'm sorry, babe. I'm so sorry. I forgot. Won't happen again. I'm just getting into the heat of the moment. I'm just trying to give you the full fantasy. I'll stop. Won't happen again.
It's kind of a shock when it's kind of brought up in that way. Like, the plays that were presented, in just as many as there was like an obvious antagonist, just as many, they were just like about relationships where something went wrong in the communication.
That kind of hurts. Stop. No, seriously, stop. Babe, stop. Matthew, stop.
They have such wisdom in what they have to say. They have such amazing ways of representing the world from their experiences, from their communities, in their languages and their dialects. And then what happens is the audience is like, wow, it was so real. It creates an audience that wants to hear what's being said, and it resonates with them.
Through this, I really found that I really like writing dialogue. And that's, I guess, where I have a specialty in, considering people tend to, I guess, like my play. Feel more open to discuss whatever topic, not just rape, but any topic.
The amount of times I've written so much now, and I don't realize how much of a passion I have for actual writing now. And it's just like, it's amazing.
By having a class, by shedding light on it, by bringing it to the stage, we hope, right, that we're able to take the shame away from people who've been victimized, and maybe women in general who might embody the shame of rape.
I also want students to take away that they can do something with pain, they could write. I want them to look at rapists as people. I think if we can look at people who rape as human beings, then we could kind of say, what as a culture can we do to change this situation, to help these human beings to become better human beings.
To learn more about the Seeing Rape class or watch the plays, go to www.seeingrape.com. I'm Maria Vaimi for Urban U.
This month's For the Record is a fun one. We're here hosting at LaGuardia Community College today because we're taking a look back at a bit of CUNY history, not in academia, but in cookies. This is the LaGuardia Community College's C building. It's been under renovation for a few years now, and while today it's filled with classrooms and students and teachers, it was originally filled with cookies.
Cream-filled chocolate cookies.
Sunshine High Rock. Anybody knows that.
If you were to think this giant building looks more like another old factory in Long Island City than a school, you'd be right. In 1912, the Loose Wiles Biscuit Company opened the building, and until 1955, it was physically the largest bakery in the world. With its bright windowed facade, this factory stood out among Long Island City's industrial corridor. It was dubbed the 1,000-Window Bakery, and as such, the company itself would go on to change its name to reflect their iconic sunny factory building, becoming, appropriately, Sunshine Biscuits, makers of Vienna Fingers, Hydrox, and Animal Crackers. By 1965, the factory was closed as production moved to New Jersey. The building itself would go through several owners over the years since then. LaGuardia would begin occupying portions of it in the 1980s, as would the International Design Center of New York, which would prove a rather unsuccessful attempt to create a hub for interior design and furniture companies. But it did lend the iconic IDCNY letters to the Long Island City skyline we've all been familiar with for so many years. As for Sunshine Biscuits, they would grow to become the third largest cookie maker in the US by the 1990s. And while they were bought out by Keebler in 1996, their brand name can still be found on store shelves, imprinted on crispy saltines, and most notably, Cheez-Its. And of course, their 1,000-window bakery lives on too, as part of CUNY's LaGuardia Community College. For the record, I'm Ari Goldberg. Stand on any corner in Midtown Manhattan, and you're gonna see plenty of delivery workers zipping around on electric bicycles, or e-bikes for short, a means of transportation that the city's recently deemed too dangerous, but at the same time is essential for many low-paid workers. Two CUNY professors, however, set out to change those laws, and they documented their journey in a short film. Anthony Sewell has that story.
There's a kind of like a common story. You come to this country, you don't have any support or connection, but you work your back, like work every day as much as you can just to survive.
Coming to this country is a dream for most, and in New York City, many immigrants find work as delivery workers. Most delivery workers depend on electric bikes or e-bikes. But when Mayor de Blasio announced a citywide crackdown on e-bikes, their livelihoods were put in jeopardy. Jing Wang, filmmaker and adjunct professor at Queens College, documented their story and the political fight that ensued in her documentary film, A Winter with Delivery Workers.
So my original idea is just to tell a couple of delivery workers' story, but then pedestrians complain how dangerous they are to the New York street.
In October 2017, in response to complaints, the mayor held a press conference.
Electronic bicycles going the wrong way down streets, weaving in and out of traffic, ignoring traffic signals. If a regular bicycle does that, that's a problem, but electronic bicycle that's so much faster creates a real danger.
In 2018, the city announced they were going to permit City Bike to release thousands of pedal-assisted electric bikes, which is a type of electric bike that can attain speeds up to 20 miles per hour, but not throttle-assisted bikes, the type of e-bikes delivery workers use. Do Lee, assistant professor at Queens College, explains the difference.
The difference between a pedal assist and a throttle assist is how you activate the electric assist. With the pedal assist, you have to pedal like a bicycle in order for it to give you that electric assist. With a throttle, you just simply turn the throttle and it gives you that electric assist. One is not necessarily faster than the other.
Throttle-assisted bikes are used more by delivery workers because they tend to be more affordable and reduce chances of long-term injuries because they don't have to pedal. Because workers use these bikes, they are disproportionately targeted by the NYPD.
This year already there's been over 900 electronic bikes confiscated by the NYPD. And we thank you for that.
Jing helped Do organize the workers by serving as the Mandarin translator between the workers and the Biking Public Project, an organization that represents cyclists of color. This was the beginning of their political fight.
大家举手，因为害怕被抓，没有去工作，影响到你们工作的。
求生存就是要求电单车合法化。
Their advocacy caught the attention of Assemblywoman Neely Rosick.
The data is very clear that e-bikes are not a huge public hazard. They really made a huge effort to come to Albany to advocate for this bill.
Rosick says that because of Do and Jing's advocacy, things were able to happen quickly. And with the help of Senator Jessica Ramos, Bill 5294 passed in the New York State Senate.
Ayes 56, nays 5.
The bill is passed. When the Senate passed the bill, I couldn't stop crying. It was just so moving that moment. We've been working on this for several years, and I think that's why seeing the passage of the bill, it felt so affirming.
Lee cautions that the bill doesn't go into effect until 180 days after the governor signs it. Currently, the signing date is to be determined. As for Jing, she hopes that when people see her film, they can experience a day in the life of an immigrant delivery worker.
At the beginning of this project, I heard immigrant delivery workers was called street rat. In mainstream media, I truly feel now delivery workers, they are actually street heroes.
Jing's film, A Winter with Delivery Workers, is currently showing at the Museum of the City of New York. This is Anthony Sewell, reporting for Urban U.
Finally, our campus creative feature. For your listening pleasure, opera singer Linda Colazzo from Queens College.
And for more information on any of these stories this month, you can check out our website at tv.cuny.edu or come by our Facebook page. That is all for this show, but we will see you next time.
See ya.
Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Et si je t'aime, si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. L'oiseau que tu croyais surprendre, pas dit